I'm Dr. Fiona Lovely, and this is the Not Your Mother's Menopause podcast. I'm taking the taboos of menopause and peri-menopause and bringing light to the dark. No bullshit, no shame. It's time for us to gain a new paradigm in female health, out with the old and in with the new, and I'm bringing fresh perspectives from someone in the arena. I've been practicing women's health for nearly 20 years, and I'm spilling the tea on what it means to live at midlife, knowing that the best is yet to come. I'm sharing my Gen X approach to living through this transition. Sassy, a bit sweary, and always honest. Tactical tips and instantly usable information is my aim. I hope to make you laugh and that you learn something new that helps you embrace the change. Together, we bring power to the peri. Onward to the podcast. You're tuned in to the Not Your Mother's Menopause podcast. I'm Dr. Fiona Lovely, and I'm so glad you're here. Maybe you're listening to this with your toes in the grass or with the windows down on a drive somewhere. Maybe you're folding laundry on a slow Sunday morning. Wherever you are, I just want to say welcome. Pull up a chair because I've been so looking forward to telling you about what I've lined up for you this summer. Here's the thing. Every season when I sit down to plan out the episodes I want to bring you, I ask myself one simple question. What are the women in my life, in my clinic, actually asking about? Not what's trending, not what some algorithm thinks will get clicks, but the real, honest, and sometimes whispered across the treatment table questions I hear over and over again. And I hear a lot of them. I hear them in clinic when a woman finally exhales and says, "Is this normal? Am I losing my mind?" Maybe she says to me, "I just don't feel like myself." I hear these questions in my DMs at 11 o'clock at night when someone can't sleep and types out the things she's been too embarrassed to say out loud to anyone else. I hear them in the comments, in the emails, in the hallway conversations after a talk. So this summer's lineup, it came straight from you. I went through the questions I get asked the most, the ones that keep coming back season after season, and I built this collection around those. The topics you've told me again and again that you really need answers on. The ones that don't get talked about enough or get talked about badly or get waved away with a shrug and, well, that's just menopause. Oh, you're getting older. You need to relax. Why don't you have a glass of wine and a massage? We're not doing that here. We never have. These subjects are close to my heart and I think close to yours. Beloved topics, the ones that matter. Some of these are our most popular conversations from over the years. The ones you've come back to, shared, and asked me about and to revisit. And they are more than due for a fresh look. And I've packed each one with the most relevant, useful information I could pull together, the kind of thing you could actually use, not just nod along to, because I see you and I believe you, and I want you walking away from every single one of these episodes feeling more like yourself, not less. So that's our summer. I cannot wait for you to hear it. Now, before we dive into this episode, I have a few little things I'm genuinely excited to share with you, so stay with me for just a moment. The first one I'm especially proud of. I have a brand new, totally free guide on brain health at menopause, and it's ready for you right now. If you've ever found yourself standing in the kitchen wondering why you walked in there, if the word you're looking for is suddenly just gone, if the brain fog that has you quietly worried in a way you haven't said out loud, this guide is for you. It's the conversation I wish every woman could have in one place, written with so much care. Written because this is the information and the tools I used to heal my own brain fog. You can grab it over at drlovely.com. That's drlovely.com. It's free, it's yours, and I'd love for you to have it. And while you're there, come get on the list for my newsletter. We call it Fiona's Friday Favorites. It comes out every 2 weeks, and honestly, it's become one of my favorite things to make. A little gathering of the things I'm loving, learning, cooking, reading, listening to, and thinking about. The stuff that doesn't always make it into an episode, but I want to pass along to you anyway. The way you text a good friend and say, "Oh, have you seen this? You have to listen." It is totally awesome if I do say so myself. Sign up at drlovely.com and I'll land in your inbox like a friend who happens to know a lot about menopause. Okay, one more thing to share. This is a big one because so many of you have asked. You want to know about becoming a menopause doula. I get this question constantly now. Women who've been through it themselves and want to turn that hard-won wisdom into something meaningful. Nurses, coaches, yoga teachers, mental health professionals, friends who everyone comes to for whatever is going on. The women who feel a pull towards this work and want to know, when can I learn more? And when is the door open? The answer is November 2026. This November, I'll be hosting a free information session, actually 2 of them, all about the Menopause Doula certification, what it is, what it means to do this work, what the training looks like, and whether it might be the next right step for you. No pressure ever, no commitment, just a chance to come listen and find out if this calling is yours too. If you want to be the first to know when these sessions open up and anything we decide to do that's fun pre-launch, here's what you need to do. Head to menopausedoulacouncil.com, drop in your email, and you'll be on the list. That's menopausedoulacouncil.com. I'd love to see your name there. So that's everything, my friend. Here's what I'm hoping for you this summer. I'm hoping you get some rest. I'm hoping you find a big patch of sun and let yourself sit in it. I'm hoping you feel less alone in whatever you're carrying right now, because you are not alone and you never were. And I'm hoping that some of these episodes find you right where you need them. I want you to know how much it means to me that you are here. Truly, there are 1,000 things you could be listening to, and you choose this. You choose to spend a little of your time with me, and that's not something I take lightly, not ever. You being here is the whole reason any of this exists. So thank you. From the bottom of my heart, thank you for being a listener. Now go enjoy your summer, and let's get into it. You're listening to the Not Your Mother's Menopause podcast. I'm Dr. Fiona Lovely. Let's begin. You're tuned in to the Not Your Mother's Menopause podcast. I'm Dr. Fiona Lovely. Happy August, everybody. How's it going? What wonderful thing have you discovered in your world, in your life, perhaps in your season, depending on where you are in the world? You may be listening to me during your winter season. We're in the height of summer here in Western Canada, and it's been a very unusually cool summer. So I don't really feel like I should be having the conversation about the halcyon days of late summer, because it's just kind of cool and cloudy and really quite rainy for us here. And yes, I realize I'm being a cliche by being a polite Canadian talking about the weather. I always say it's a pleasure and a privilege to talk about the weather. So anyways, you're tuned to the Not Your Mother's Menopause podcast, and I have some goodies to share with you first. So first things first, thanks for giving me some time to recoup myself, to get my mind and body back in alignment with the things that light me up. I've stepped away from the mic for the last month. I went to France with my family and spent 10 beautiful days in Paris, which was lovely. I saw all the beautiful things. My God, the architecture there. I mean, I realize my country is very young, so of course we don't have the same architecture, but it's literally everywhere. Even the pharmacy, of which there are so many French pharmacies. And oh my gosh, I feel like I shopped at every single one of them to get the best of the French skincare. But even they were in these beautiful old buildings, just extraordinary. I walked 15,000 steps plus every day. I ate bread for the first time in 12 years and had no reaction, which is also a really interesting thing. My understanding is, I'm sure you've heard this too, is you have friends or family that are gluten intolerant, maybe even celiac, although please do not take this as nutritional advice. If you're celiac, you might not want to try. I am not celiac, I'm gluten intolerant. And so I had heard from patients and friends that had traveled that they had no troubles eating, let's say, the pasta in France or the pasta in Italy or the croissant in France. And so, I was going to give that a try. And I did. And what a pleasure to have beautiful pastry with a coffee. I mean, what a great ritual that is, such a spiritual ritual. And you don't realize just how much is missing until you have it again. So anyways, my understanding of it from a functional medicine point of view is that the European Union and Russia are the only places on the planet that do not allow genetic modification of their grain. And the hybridization of our wheat here in North America is part of the problem with basically our guts not recognizing that any longer that bread or flour is food. It recognizes it as something foreign, and then there's an immune reaction. So I'm happy to say for myself, I was able to consume all the delightful French foods and not have a reaction. How great was that? So clearly the answer to everything in my life is to move to France. Actually, I think clearly the answer is that my next trip needs to be to Italy so I can eat pasta and pizza again. Anyways, I saw all the gorgeous things. It was so nice to just disconnect and look at the world through eyes of wonder. A beautiful thing. So tell me, what have you been up to this summer? What have you discovered in your world, in your life? As I asked off the top, have you traveled anywhere? Have you seen anything new? I sure hope so. One of the things that surprised me about traveling to France was that I saw references to menopause right away. In fact, one of the first things I saw was a big sign in Le Metro, in the subway, that talked about menopause and menopause treatment. And I was delighted to see how proudly the wise era women carried themselves. I'm not used to seeing that here at home. We kind of are taught to shrink away at a certain age and a certain station in life. And we don't see wise era women on the television so much, but that's not the case in France. I saw these beautiful women fully done up, hair, makeup, outfits, gorgeous shoes, gorgeous bags, of course, sometimes wearing a scarf, very French. And I can see how aging is embraced very differently in France anyways than it is in my culture and presumably in other cultures too. So I want to hear from you. If you live in a culture where wisdom is revered, the wisdom of age is revered, drop me an email, please. You can go to my website, which is drlovely.com, and there's a form on there that says contact us, and we'll hear from you. I want to hear those stories. I know I've heard stories, but this was my first time as a woman of a certain era being able to see this with my own eyes, and it was delightful. Okay, today for the episode, I have something a little bit different for you. Recently, I was interviewed by Leah Vachani for the Women Aging Powerfully Summit. Maybe some of you saw it. My interview was day 6, and I spoke on the subject of musculoskeletal health at menopause. Basically, in less sciencey terms, how the loss of estrogen affects our bones, muscles, tendons, ligaments, and spine discs, even our central nervous system, our stability, our mobility. And this is a subject near and dear to my heart. And I guess in a way, this is, a musculoskeletal health month theme for August, as next week on August 26th, I will share with you the conversation I had with the researcher and orthopedic surgeon who compiled the science behind the musculoskeletal syndrome of menopause, Dr. Vonda Wright. Pretty excited about that conversation and thrilled to get it out to you. And one more little bit of news for you. If you're not on the newsletter list, please go ahead and join it. If you go to drlovely.com, there'll be a place for you to enter your email at the top of the website. And then we'll have the upcoming episodes. We've got some product launches coming. And the thing I've been working on for months at this point, almost a year, the launch of the Menopause Doula Certification Program, which is something I've been teaching since 2020, and bringing it in a larger scale will be coming in the next few months. So if you want to know more about that, you can go to, again, drlovely.com, enter your email up top, and you'll be put on the newsletter list. I promise I won't pester you with things that aren't relevant. Every second Friday, I put out a highly curated newsletter that I write myself. I promise you there is no chat GPT here, just me. And we got some pretty cool things coming for the fall. So I would love to see you there. As always, I'm grateful that you're here listening to me speak, not just in this intro, but in this beautiful interview that I did with Leah Vachani of the Women Aging Powerfully Summit. Now, if you want to hear the whole summit, I'll put the link in the show notes. The free version is complete by now, but you can purchase the summit if you want to hear all of the amazing speakers for this. So once again, I'm Dr. Fiona Lovely. This is the Not Your Mother's Menopause podcast, and stay tuned for my interview on the musculoskeletal health at menopause. But first, a word from our sponsor. Vaginal dryness, one of the most common symptoms of peri-menopause and menopause, and one of the least discussed. So many women are quietly suffering through it, thinking it's just something they have to accept. It's not. You do not have to white knuckle your way through discomfort, painful intimacy, or that constant feeling of irritation that nobody warned you about. There are solutions, and today I want to tell you about one that has genuinely caught my attention. It's called Melt for You, and it's the newest product from Womanness, a brand built specifically for women navigating menopause by women who get it. Melt for You is a vaginal insert, hormone-free, which means it's safe to use whether you're on HRT or not, and there's no applicator, no plastic, no fuss. Just a small suppository you insert at bedtime every 2 to 3 days. That's it. The star ingredient is hyaluronic acid, the same moisture-binding powerhouse we love on our faces, working from the inside to deeply hydrate vaginal tissue, restore elasticity, and calm inflammation. It also contains lactic acid to support your vaginal pH and the health of your vaginal microbiome. Womanness spent 2 full years developing and perfecting this product, and that care shows. Most women notice a softening and soothing effect within the first day or two. By 2 weeks of consistent use, moisture levels are restored. There are 7 inserts per box. That's 2 full weeks of hydration right out of the gate. Head to womanness.com, that's WOMANESS.com, and use the code LOVELY to try Melt for You for yourself. Because comfort in your own body isn't luxury, it's something you deserve every single day.
When 71% of women experience a common syndrome during menopause that almost no one is talking about, it's time to listen to someone who is. Hi again, I'm Leah Vachani, and I'm your host of the Women Aging Powerfully Summit. And today you're going to meet Dr. Fiona Lovely, the creator and host of the top-rated Not Your Mother's Menopause podcast, and a senior clinician dedicated to transforming how we approach the menopause transition. Drawing from her expertise in functional neurology, longevity medicine, and restorative endocrinology, Dr. Lovely has become a trusted voice for women seeking wisdom beyond the standard just deal with it approach. Today's conversation is really an opportunity, and you're going to learn so much. We talked about, oh my gosh, so many juicy details and concepts. One of the things you're going to find out is the hidden musculoskeletal changes affecting 7 out of 10 menopausal women, why protein optimization might be the missing key to controlling cravings and maintaining muscle, simple movement practices that take minutes but deliver powerful brain and body benefits, how to effectively communicate. Now, this is a big one, ladies, listen up. We're going to talk about how to effectively communicate with healthcare providers about your hormone treatment options. And we're also going to discuss the surprising connection between progesterone and neurological conditions. Dr. Lovely brilliantly reframes menopause not as a time of decline, but as an opportunity to rebuild strength and reclaim control through targeted nutrition, movement, and hormonal support. So, whether you're already experiencing joint pain and stiffness or simply want to prevent future issues, this conversation offers actionable strategies to move from discomfort to empowerment. Here is Dr. Fiona Lovely with insights that could transform your menopause experience. Hello, Fiona. Welcome. I am so excited that you are here.
Thank you, Leah, for inviting me.
Well, I have to admit, what we're talking about today, I can barely get out of my mouth. So I'm hoping that you can talk about it more than me. But what exactly is the musculoskeletal syndrome? There, I did it. Please don't
Yes,
do that again.
it's totally fine. We can call it MSM. What we're talking about is the musculoskeletal syndrome of menopause. And what that means is we get pain, we get joint dysfunction, we can potentially get loss of bone density and loss of muscle mass that comes with perimenopause and menopause. 71% of us will be affected by it. 25% of women that have it will be disabled by it. And it is a seriously overdue conversation. So let's go.
Yeah, let's go. And it's one of the first symptoms I personally experienced in perimenopause was I've been an athlete my whole life, never really had any pain except for, the acute injury. And then all of a sudden in my 40s, I'm an avid tennis player and I'm experiencing knee pain for the first time, not like I tore a ligament or strained anything, just chronic pain. What is going on with that? Why did this start in perimenopause?
Yeah, so it was the same for me, by the way, too. 37, I had a frozen shoulder. And for a lot of women, the frozen shoulder is the onset. For other women, it's the heel pain or plantar fasciitis. For others, it's the hip pain that I can't sleep on one side anymore because my hips hurt when I wake up in the morning. And it's knee pain. I mean, those are the things, right? This is typically what we see. So estrogen, it primarily is the primary hormone that's involved here because estrogen keeps inflammation at bay. And when estrogen starts to decline, which it does in perimenopause, slowly, although up and down first, right? Up and down, and then there's a decline. So when you're on the up and down, you can have periods of time where it doesn't feel so bad, and then other times where you get, much more concerned, much more pain. And so when the estrogen starts to leave the building, what happens is the inflammatory cytokines can flood into the joints. And they're the immunomediators of inflammation, and they bring pain with them. So estrogen's the primary, although progesterone, testosterone, DHEA all play a role here as well. But primarily it's estrogen.
Yeah, those ups and downs you mentioned, they're not pleasant to experience. And the frustrating part, or maybe it's not frustrating for some, but we can't do anything about these changing hormone levels. I mean, yes, we can support our health with the foundations, reducing stress, getting high quality sleep, eating right, moving our bodies. That is important, but those hormones are going down no matter what. So are we stuck with these pains and these aches for the rest of our lives?
It's a good question. So the research shows us pretty clearly that women who take menopausal hormone replacement therapy, MHT or MT or HRT, all the same thing. Okay. Let's just call it HRT because that's, I'm old school. So that's what I tend to call it. The research is clear that women who take hormones have less pain, better bone density, better muscle mass, and better balance. And that really, really matters because ultimately, you and I are in our perimenopausal era, but when this is the time where we can correct the things that lead to frailty as we get into our 60s, 70s, and 80s. And so frailty is the thing we wish to stop. And ultimately, like I said, that's 71% of women experience the musculoskeletal syndrome of menopause. It typically starts in the perimenopausal era, and it starts with something like, as you talked about your knee pain, it would be very easy for you to go to your physio, your chiro, and say, hey, I have this new onset knee pain, and they work it up like an injury, like a trauma. Now, 40% of the time, structurally normal on X-ray, MRI, etc. So already the practitioners are not recognizing that the problem is actually the decline of hormones. Now, with the HRT, we want to be educating our patients about how not to injure that area. If we're talking about the hip in particular, how not to compress the muscles, the tendons, ligaments, etc. there. Also education. We want to be teaching, we want to be saying, okay, make sure you're moving, but also replacing the hormones seems to make the biggest difference. And, I've been talking about women's health for 20 years at this point professionally. And for many of those years, HRT was verboten. We didn't talk about it. It was absolutely not okay to discuss it because we had determined, or science had determined, that it was scary and that there were side effects. But now we know that that was misinterpreted, I think is the best way to say that. The science was misinterpreted, and that there are ways to safely take hormones and to get the benefits of it. And for me personally, having had a parent go down to dementia, a grandparent with Alzheimer's, and a whole lot of heart disease in my family, I am all in on the hormones to protect my brain, to protect my bones, and to protect my heart.
Yeah, and we're living longer. So, the average woman goes through menopause, let's just say, what is it, 52, I think, 51, 52,
Yeah.
something around that, early
Yeah.
50s. And women are living, we could be living in our 80s and 90s, even till 100. So that's almost half our life, and without these protective hormones. So in terms of the musculoskeletal MSM,
Yeah.
MSM,
MSM's
MSM.
fine.
Yeah, that's a mouthful. Wow. Okay. So in terms of MSM,
Yeah.
is it really just as simple and easy to protect ourselves by just going on HRT, if that's an option, or are there other things involved as well?
Well, I think it's really important to have this conversation because there's lots of things that we can do to help keep ourselves, reduce the risk of fracture, to increase our muscle mass, etc. So movement, number one, super important. We need to be doing weight-bearing movement, and even better, there's this whole movement right now of getting women to lift heavy. Now, listen, as a chiropractor, I'm over here saying, hold on a minute, because I'm fixing the ladies that lift heavy when they weren't ready to lift heavy. So we want to make sure we're doing it in the proper sequence. And what I think is the right way to do things, especially for those of us that maybe haven't been active for a while, not since we were younger, and now we see that it's really important to make sure we're building muscles, make sure we're exacting a force on the bones, because when we exact force on the bones, like a weight-bearing exercise, it causes the buildup of the bone tissue. And so we want to make sure we're doing it in the correct order. I think resistance training first, which is using your body weight and or bands to get the structures moving again. Like estrogen is a lubricator, if I haven't said it already. So when we start to lose the lubrication of things, we need to get them moving so that we can get those actions happening again. So we get the resistance training, then we can start to lift weights. And when we're lifting weights, etc., that is going to be building muscle mass. Now, something that's really important in this conversation is considering how much protein intake you're making on a daily basis.
Now you're
Most
talking to my
is
happy place. I love talking
Yes, okay.
protein.
All right, well then please fill me in where fill in the gaps for me, okay? So here's what we need. We need to protein optimize. We have not been taught to do this properly. We're far better at because of the way the diet industry has influenced those of us that are in perimenopause and menopause now. We're very good at vilifying food groups, which is silly, but this is what we knew. This is what the science was doing when we were kids, right? So we watched our mothers do this, and our aunties and our grandmothers, And so those patterns and habits, Leah, are really, really, they're baked in, they're deep, man. So here's what I say to my patients and the listeners of the podcast as well is when you protein optimize, everything else gets easier. Everything else gets easier. So how do you do that? So protein optimization, I'm trying to remember the number. I think here's the metric I like to use. It is ideal body weight. So let's say your ideal body weight is 150 pounds. Okay. You need to be consuming an ounce of protein for every pound of ideal body
You
weight
mean a gram,
per
right?
day. What did I say?
Ounce.
Yeah, gram. Yes, gram. Thank you. A gram. Thank you. It makes
That
a
would have
big
been
difference.
really
Oh,
optimizing
like
your
super
protein.
hard, right?
Everyone would be like, I can't do it.
That's awesome. Okay, so a gram for every pound of body weight, and we are woefully inadequate. So most women get about 55 to 75 grams a day if they're doing well. So that's half of what we should be doing. And so the question then becomes, for those of us that have this deep patterning of not consuming a lot of food, we think we got to reduce calories in order to be skinny, or whichever word you want to use. Again, old way of thinking. New way of thinking says we actually want to eat for strength, which I think is such a cool conversation. What do you think?
Well, we are at the Women Aging Powerfully Summit. So I think you know how I feel about this. But yeah, everything you're saying, I'm nodding my head because the clients that I work with, so many women say, "Oh, I'm totally getting enough protein." They actually think they're getting more than they are because when I have them track their protein, they're far under what they think. And it is a big jump to go from 50 grams a day to 150.
Yes. Yes.
And I agree also with what you said with when you focus on protein. In fact, that's what I have. I was nodding my head because I'm like, yes, I love this woman. She says exactly what I do. Focus on protein first because then
Yes.
everything else falls into place.
Yeah.
It's kind of magical.
Yes, it is. And there is a part of our brain that until we get what we need for protein will constantly trigger hunger. And the thing is, we feel the hunger, we might feel the cravings, but we think those cravings are for potato chips or bread or, the delicious things that maybe aren't the nutrient that our brain is actually seeking, which is protein. So because I grew up in the diet era just as much as anybody else did, what I like to say to my patients, the first thing I say is, let's talk about your protein. And I want you to know I'm not going to tell you not to eat things. I'm going to tell you to eat lots of protein. And then if you got space left in your tummy, then you can have what you want. But chances are, and you know
Yes, I
this because you
do.
talk to women about this all the time, when we get enough meat on our plate, or dairy or legumes or whatever version, although you have to eat a hell of a pile of legumes in order to get the protein. I'm just putting that out there. If we're going to talk about calories, that's where we're going to talk about it. So I am a meat eater, so I'm going to talk about my perspective, which is to consider, listen, if you got a plate, let's say you got a steak and a baked potato for dinner. Okay. Again, nobody is winning any awards here with this plate, but I'm just making a point. If you eat the steak first, chances are you're going to have just a little bit of that potato.
Yeah.
That's the way to do it. Now, Leah's going to say, can we get some greens in there, please, Dr. Lovely?
Where's the salad?
Exactly. And if you're doing that, you eat the protein first, then the salad, whatever's left, you have the protein. Now, if you're trying to control blood sugar, eat the salad first because the fiber in first will help you burn everything else properly in terms of glycemic control and that sort of thing. But back to that steak, put a T-bone on your plate and eat that, mommy, and then tell me you still want to have dessert. Chances are, if you had enough of a piece of meat, you probably are okay. You're like, no, I'm good.
I
It's
love
pretty
that
fascinating.
I love that. And also that you're taking out the psychological component because when you tell someone you can't have something, what are they going to
Yeah,
think about?
they push
That's going to
back.
be on repeat in their mind. Like, oh,
Yes.
you said I can't have ice cream. I know there's ice cream in the freezer and it's so yummy and it's chocolate chip. Oh, it's my
Oh, yeah.
favorite. They can't stop thinking about it.
No, that's right. And I think this is what's beautiful about having the conversation about protein optimization is that when you get this part right, the other bits take control of themselves. It's like it's hacking the brain in a way. You know, you're tapping into that system, which is old, it's ancient, it's meant to keep us functioning physically optimally. And so its job is not to worry about whether or not you can take a steak for lunch because you're eating at your desk. It's not here to worry about calories. It's not here to worry about any of those things. And so you just have to take it. When you take it out, to me, I found this was life-changing for me when I really optimized my protein. I didn't want any of the other things that I had thought I wanted, which was very interesting.
Well, and you bring up a point of that protein is the building block to everything for our neurotransmitters, for our hormones, for our muscles.
Mhm.
So I know that a lot of experts now are talking about sarcopenia. You mentioned it earlier as well.
Yep.
And that I've heard, I can't remember the statistic, but that's, I think, one of the leading causes, right, of the when people end up in nursing homes because there's a
Yes.
fall or a hip break, and all of that is related to sarcopenia, which is the loss of muscle as we age,
Yes.
correct?
Yes, yes,
So
that's correct. So sarcopenia is one of those sort of five landmarks, if you will, of MSM, musculoskeletal syndrome of menopause, just to kind of let it roll over the tongue. Hey, I say it all the time.
we
I'm
should
all
get a
good.
gold star every time we say it correctly.
Listen, as a chiropractor, I better know how to say those words.
Okay, I get the gold star then.
Yes, exactly. You can have it. Okay. So when we have the sarcopenia, which is the age-related loss of muscle mass, we become unstable. And when we become unstable, we are at an increased risk for a fracture. When we have a fracture, like a hip fracture, our chances of mortality go up considerably in the year after that hip fracture. So these are the things that we see with this frailty piece. So why is considering sarcopenia a big deal? Because if you have the muscle mass to catch yourself, so that you don't end up falling on the ground, right? That's a big deal. Now, some women say their bone density was such that they literally were just walking and their bone crumbled. Okay, so again, this is part of that MSM business. We've got to make sure that the hormones are in a good place. We have to make sure we're doing the protein intake and the movement. These things are really, really important. It's not just about the pain and the inflammation. The pain and inflammation is more of the start of the MSM. The later bits of the MSM, hopefully we never get there. Hopefully our practitioners are starting to recognize the inflammatory component of the MSM and then going, wait a minute, I think I know what this is. Let's get you the right help. Let's get you the education. Let's get you the exercises. Let's do the therapy, but let's get you to somebody who can actually look at the hormones and say, can we put together a hormonal regime that makes sense? Because it's different for everyone, which is why medicine struggles with this. Medicine is barely educated on this. It is a problem of the system. It's not bad doctors, although I'm sure that's out there, but please don't blame your doctor. Your doctor was just educated in a crummy system that wasn't paying attention to women's health beyond uterine viability. And that's the reality of it. So we, the scrappy Gen Xers and elder millennials, are going, wait a minute, hold on a minute. Nah, it's not happening, because we saw our mothers and our grandmothers go down to this, right? Our aunties, our beloved aunties, and we're just not having any part of it. So when it comes to come back to the muscle loss, important to make sure your muscle mass stays maintained as well, because the muscle itself is an endocrine organ. It has endocrine function. And when the muscle contracts, it releases hormones that has effect on the visceral fat. Now, why is that important? Visceral fat is very, very inflammatory, and it is one of the things that we look at to see whether or not a woman, we're talking about women here, so we'll just keep it that, why, if a woman is at an increased risk for diabetes, cancer, heart disease. So the hormones keep the muscles working well. When the muscles can contract and release the hormones that they do, now the visceral fat, that's where we see that body fat composition change, that body composition change that happens at perimenopause as well, is related to, mediated by the estradiol egress, which is changing the inflammasome actually with the immune system. So big words that basically just mean you got to really pay attention to, what is your bone density? If you're at an increased risk for a fracture, make sure somebody is looking at what your bone density is, be measuring that. Again, that tends to be later onset menopause. But if we get this right, Leah, if we really get this right now, we will never get to that part. We will have corrected it before. And that's the kind of thing that gets me out of bed in the morning, brings a tear to my eye and a lump in my throat. Because if I can deliver this information to women in a way that's helpful so that they never have to suffer those experiences of frailty, bring it on. Bring it on.
Wow. That was, yeah. I can feel the emotion because I know that probably everyone listening knows someone in their life that has either had a fall or ended up in a nursing home because of frailty, or had something that has happened to them due to aging
Yep.
in relation to this MSM that we're talking about, the word I can't say. So I want to touch on, it just occurred to me as you were talking that there are many women that are likely going to their practitioner, whether it's a doctor, a chiropractor, a physio, and we kind of touched on this before, they may be getting the wrong help. I shouldn't say wrong, but maybe not the best, most appropriate help, because it may be presenting as an injury. And what they really need to be helped with is, as we just talked about, HRT,
Mm-hmm.
and then the healthy diet, the protein forward.
Mm-hmm.
But also, is there some other like supplements, lifestyle that they can, lifestyle habits that they can incorporate to also help this? We haven't
Yeah.
even talked about supplements yet.
Yeah, I mean, for sure, really important for bone and muscle health are collagen, vitamin D, K2, really important. D3, K2, really, really important. Fish oil, of course, helps with the nervous system. By the way, I want to say something about the nervous system here because it kind of gets ignored in this whole MSM business. So, nervous system, of course, is the brain, the spinal cord, and the peripheral nerves that come off the spinal cord. It turns out that we have some actually quite old research. It's at least 20 years old that shows that progesterone is actually remyelinating. Now, what does that mean? The myelin is the sheath around the nerves that causes the speed of firing between the brain to the big toe. Let's just use the big toe, okay? So when the myelin breaks down, that's called MS or multiple sclerosis. It's a demyelinating disease. So when I read this research about progesterone, I wonder why in the hell progesterone is not being used for women with MS. Number
It's
one, maybe
not.
I don't know. To be honest, I haven't heard. So if anyone listening to this has heard of that or has been offered that therapy, please let me know. Reach out because this is all new, right? This particular bit of research is old, but when I started looking at, thanks to Dr. Von der Wright's paper, by the way, which is excellent. So if there are practitioners that are listening to me speak today, please go and find Dr. Von der Wright's most recent research on the musculoskeletal syndrome of menopause. It is like a masterclass on all of the details of the MSM. It is literally, I literally carry it around with me. I'm always learning from it. So if you want more, that's where you go. Now, for back to this progesterone business, what does remyelination do for a woman that doesn't have MS? For us gals that are just trying to manage the MSM, it assures that our brain is able to keep us upright, is able to keep us from falling, to keep our reflexes sharp and quick, and to keep our muscles contracting in such a pattern that we can catch ourselves if we feel unstable. Really important.
Yeah.
So when I hear things like, well, if a woman doesn't have a uterus, she doesn't need progesterone. I'm like, oh my God. Okay, one step forward, two steps forward, one step back. Okay, two steps forward, one step back. Okay, keep in mind that is old information. The idea that the reason why we still hear that is because when a woman is given estrogen, estrogen and progesterone are dancing throughout our cycles. And the progesterone comes along to the cells that have been proliferating during the estrogen phase or the follicular phase and say, okay, cells, thank you for growing. You can stop growing now. Grow up, differentiate, become the thing you're supposed to become. In the luteal phase, that's what happens. That's from ovulation until we bleed. And then as we get older and we stop having the cycles, well, now we can still consider what these hormones do for us. All right. So, what progesterone does to women who are prescribed HRT that is just estrogen is it protects the lining of the uterus from cancer. Okay. So, it's really important. And that's why you hear that talked about. But if a woman's had a hysterectomy, she doesn't need progesterone, as if progesterone only has effect on the uterus. That is not true. We know there are progesterone receptors all over the brain. In fact, they're really important for GABA, which is the neurotransmitter of calm, super important. So, but I actually think progesterone should be offered to women long before estrogen is offered, because the symptoms that we have early in our perimenopause tend to be progesterone mediated. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, how's your sleep?
I just hope, yeah, how's your sleep? Give me all the progesterone. I just wanted to
Me
add,
too.
I just wanted to add a note that progesterone is also given for TBIs, traumatic brain injuries, because of its amazing power in the brain. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's interesting. We've looked at the research has shown that female athletes, can have neuroprotection from the hormones. We need to look at that more. And certainly TBI is a really important element of that too, not just from the athletic perspective, but for us average fools that can trip. I've seen all kinds of concussions in my office, by the way. So I have literally heard it all when it comes to those mechanisms of injury. But anyways, too far from the subject. Let's come back to this progesterone for nervous system. So not only does it increase calm, decrease anxiety, and help us sleep at night. So if you're a woman in your late 30s or early 40s and you're starting all of a sudden wake up in the middle of the night, don't know what the heck's going on, can't get back to sleep, that's progesterone, babe. So that's one you want to ask your doctor for. And bioidentical progesterone, or prometrium, it's called in North America, is a really important thing. You don't want a synthetic progestin. You do not want that. You have to ask that question.
Which means birth control pills. That's synthetic.
Yes. Or the IUD is also synthetic, although that can be a lifesaver for women that are heavy bleeding. So you pick and choose. Well,
it's always a risk benefit ratio, right? But if you don't have the information that you have an alternative, that's where I get frustrated. Is like, so many doctors are just putting women in their 40s in perimenopause on birth control pills for anxiety, for depression, for acne, whatever it is. And it's like, okay, maybe that is suitable for some, but there is an alternative and they're not talking about that. That's where I get frustrated. Give us options. Give us the education and let us help be a partner in our decision.
It's true. And again, this is a failure of the medical system in training the doctors the way that they've been trained, which is that all progesterone, progestin, etc., is all the same. It's not. And the other thing is, we don't have a huge body of research on this for two reasons. Women were left out of research for decades. Number one, because we were deemed too unpredictable because of the nature of our menstrual cycles. So all of the dosing that we have for pretty much all of the pharmaceuticals that are older is based on what happens in a man's body. So it's important to know that. But also, medicine is incredibly paternalistic. And so the research money is spent on the uterus being reproductively active. And when we do not have that as an option anymore, the same amount of money for research has not been spent, not by a long shot. So we're getting this information, but it's taking time. There's a bias against bioidentical because they say it's weird and all of this stuff. And then somebody's out there saying that's a marketing term. No, it's not. It's just it's biology. It's just saying, hey, listen, I want the one that looks most like what's in my body, right? So again, I get why women are overwhelmed. It's a lot. Like and then your doctor prescribes the pill and you're going, wait a minute, this doesn't sound right. Just so everybody knows, HRT for menopause and perimenopause is a tiny amount of hormone, generally speaking. Okay. The birth control pill is a lot of hormone. So it's just too much. It's just too much. Now, again,
we're not 20 or 30 anymore.
No, we don't have to override the system. So there are accommodations to be made for women in their 40s and 50s who have the heavy bleeding that can go along with, because that is so life disruptive, not to mention it risks our energy, our ability to do our jobs and be moms and daughters and all of that, with fatigue that comes with anemia.
Nutritional status, yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And so, iron deficiency is a really big deal for women, and it gets essentially ignored by a lot of practitioners. And it shouldn't be, whether we're talking about brain health or we're talking about musculoskeletal health or we're talking about just everyday, even your personality changes when you're iron deficient. We are covering it all today, are we not? Like,
oh yeah. Yeah, they're getting their viewership worth here. Yeah.
People taking notes are like, wait a minute, I thought she was talking about bones and muscles and things. I am.
So
menopause skin. Nobody's favorite part of the transition at midlife we call perimenopause and menopause. If you're noticing fine lines, wrinkles, or sagging skin, maybe more texture during your menopause, I have some really exciting news for you. Menopause can deplete your skin's collagen, speeding up the aging. But here's the news. Vitaly Skincare has built its entire line on the power of GHK-Cu copper peptides, a proven ingredient that signals your skin's stem cells to produce new and healthy collagen. My personal favorite, Vitaly's Restorative Skin Cell Serum. I love how it rejuvenates and restores my skin from within, revealing a firmer, more radiant glow. Want to experience this transformation for yourself? Head to vitalyskincare.com and use the code LOVELY at checkout for 20% off. That's vitalyskincare.com, VITALI skin, SKINCARE.com, code LOVELY. Because with Vitaly, youthful, vibrant skin is just a step away at any age. Hey guys, Dr. Lovely here again. Sorry to butt in while you're listening to this episode. But in case you don't know, I send out an awesome newsletter every 2 weeks. It's called Fiona's Friday Favorites, and I'm getting lots of great feedback about it. I pack it full of the latest and greatest in menopause and perimenopause information, whether it's research or treatment options, or my favorite supplement, or my favorite yoga pose, or recipe, or book, or podcast of that 2-week period. People are loving it. So go to drlovely.com. That's drlovely.com. And right at the top where it says shift here, enter your name and your email address, and we'll be sure to add you to the list of Fiona's Friday favorites. Thanks for listening.
Yeah, I love that you're sharing all the information, because as you pointed out, it is really hard to get the information from many doctors or practitioners. So yeah, load us up.
Yeah. And this brings me back to something you asked earlier that I didn't get around to answering, because this is how my brain works. I've had a good night's sleep last night, which is probably troublesome for this conversation, because it means I'm going to just be like, let's give it all.
It's okay. We're here to receive.
Okay, great.
Throw it all at us.
If you feel like you're not sure how to talk to your doctor about this, specifically about the hormones, give them the power back and say the words you want to use are, am I a candidate for bioidentical progesterone, prometrium, estradiol patch, estriol vaginal cream, whatever it is, be specific. Don't leave it up to, the doctor guessing, right? If you know that there's something you think is going to work well for you, listen, everybody's doctor Googling, right? Much as I don't like it, that's the reality. Actually, AI is not too bad. It actually is bringing the level of information up from just plain old Googling, which those of us that are health practitioners, we've had to manage that. But again, I get why people are doing it. I do it too. And I'm not getting the right information from my practitioner. I'm going to go and see what Google has to say about it. So the more specific you can be with it, with your doctor, the words you want to say are, am I a candidate for? And then you're not demanding, you're giving the power back, you're being polite. All of those things really matter, right? Because it's hard to get a doctor, right? It's really hard sometimes. So the other thing
And
that's
ladies, if they blow you off after that, I think it's time to walk out the door and find a new practitioner, though. I have to say that.
absolutely
So don't stop advocating for yourself.
never, never, even if you're in the best healthcare system in the world, never stop advocating for yourself and never stop asking questions. It's really important. And here's what I hear quite often from patients is they'll say, I don't want to be a fuss. I don't want to make a fuss with my doctor. I'm like, wait a minute. I I'm your doctor too, and that's what I'm here for. Please make a fuss. You pay me so you can make a fuss, and I can help you with that fuss. This is how it works. But we have this whole, got to be a good girl, can't be too loud, can't disrupt, can't rock the boat, the doctor's the authority, all that stuff. BS, put it down.
This is your life.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So the other thing I want to say is if you're with your practitioner, your physio, your massage therapist, your acupuncturist, your chiro, your orthopedist, whoever you see, your kinesiologist, and you feel that the MSM may be in consideration here, what I will tell you is this is very, very, very new. I messaged a girlfriend this morning as I was looking through the paper again, and said, who she and I were in school together. And I said, do you remember ever hearing that muscle had endocrine function? She was like, hell no. I was like, exactly. Now, we were in school 25 years ago, right? So things have changed dramatically since then. But I can tell you, even the new grads in the office here are not being taught about the MSM. So there's a really good chance that your practitioner has never heard of it, or if they've heard of it, they don't know how to modify, if you will, or consider that first. And so you can direct them to Dr. Von der Wright's paper. It is available on PubMed, Google Scholar, on the internet, etc. If you are interested in this yourself, please read it. It's a fascinating read about just how many of our systems change after the loss of estrogen as the big one. Okay. So bring it to their attention, because here's the thing, you're not making a fuss. When I have people bring that to me, my patients have always been my best teachers. Always. When somebody brings me something new, I'm on it. I'm like, is there anything here? Is this something we need to pay attention to? 98% of the time, it is. That's important to know.
It's one way that women can empower themselves and also but change the system slowly.
Yes.
I remember, this is totally a tangent, but when I was pregnant with my first baby, which was 15, 16 years ago, I went to the OBGYN and I asked her if she would test my vitamin D3. And she said, no, that's a waste of money and time. And I said, if I bring you a study, will you read it? And she said, yes. And I'm a nutritionist, so I've read these studies. Brought it to her. After that, she tested every single patient in her practice.
Yes.
So a good practitioner like you, Fiona, like
Yeah.
other doctors that are open to learning, they will take that information. And if they find that it is helpful and accurate and something that they want to implement, they will.
Yes,
That's how we
absolutely.
change. That's how we
Yes.
change the system.
We are constantly learning as practitioners, and most of us have a deep passion for it. So again, when someone brings me something, I'm paying attention. Also, because the chances are I've got my hands on that person, right? Literally, I am a chiropractor, in case you've forgotten. I can put my hands on people with consent. So they're literally on the table. They're literally on the table. Anyways, so when they bring it to me and it affects the way I know their body is going to respond to the treatment, or you bet I'm paying attention. You bet. You bet. I spoke about a little bit earlier about how um, I had a parent with dementia who's passed now. That's my mother. And I remember somewhere along the lines in her dementia journey, she had actually had a big uptick basically in function. And the neurologist said to me, what happened? What's going on here? And I said, I got her some B12. And the neurologist went, oh, yeah, we forget about that one, don't we? I know, exactly. So my mother's function and movement coordination, which she also had Parkinson's, so that was a problem, got considerably better for a period of time. After, B12 is a simple and easy supplement to take. It is not expensive. It's super portable. It tastes okay. It's not like some of these other things that we take. It was like, oh God, do I have to? No, it actually tastes pretty good. So basically all of my patients over the age of 40 that see me in clinic, I tell them they should be taking B12 for a lot of reasons. You as a nutritionist will know the importance of this.
And do you give them a specific form, or is it dependent on how they methylate or other things in their what's going on?
I'm just going to give them
Yeah.
the methylcobalamin for sure
Yeah.
is what I'm going to do. So a liquid form, I mean, because I'm not doing any testing around that here,
Yeah.
I'm just going to assume that everybody needs that form. And so they get a liquid. It's easy to, and
Yeah.
we've done the blood before and after. So we know it's the same with the vitamin D I have here in the office. We've done the bloods before and after. We know it's getting absorbed. I also like a liquid sublingual vitamin D.
Yeah, I was gonna say the sublingual ones, those work really nicely.
They're
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah, really good. And anytime you can bypass the GI system for absorption, do it
Yeah.
with these things, right? Because, when the GI gets involved, the liver gets involved, absorption is a problem, stomach changes, maybe medications you're taking change the way your stomach acid is. And so now you don't assimilate those minerals, vitamins, whatever you're taking. That's just a good rule of thumb.
Yeah, I agree. The digestive system for most of us is kind of a mess anyways, but we have other experts talking about that.
Yes, good. It's true. It's really important. For the sake of the name of this chat, let's talk a little bit about moving out of stiffness if we can.
Yes, let's do that.
Yeah, because I think that's a lot of us experience that stiffness and we think, okay, is that an injury? Is that mean I should sit on the couch more? And the answer is quite the opposite. So the remedy for stiffness, assuming that there's not an injury here, is that you need to stay moving. Really, really important. It does not need to be fancy. You can walk around the block. That's fine. You can go down to the end of the driveway and back. You can run up and down the stairs inside your house, right? There's lots of options. It does not need to be fancy, but it does need to happen. Not only for our physical musculoskeletal system, but we need it for our brain function as well. That's super, super duper important. There's an interesting bit of research that shows that the hippocampus, which is the part of the brain that keeps our memory, and is associated with a lot of neurodegeneration, but also the loss of cognition. The studies showed that people, even over the age of 90, if they increased movement every day, they increased the volume of the hippocampus, thereby making their memory better, their cognition better. And I do believe that study also had the brain-derived neurotrophic factor in it as well, which is a really important brain chemical for encouraging neural networks to grow. So we want to keep moving. If you don't have a stretching routine, please get one. It, again, does not need to be fancy. Ask your somatic practitioner what would be good for you. Get yourself a yoga mat if you can get on the floor. If you can't, you can do it sitting in a chair. You can do it on your bed. Like, it really just depends on your mobility level. But every day, a little bit of stretching, especially for women that are at increased risk for fracture of the hip. Make sure you've got good, strong booty muscles and leg muscles. So one of my favorite things to do is squats. You can literally do them anywhere. You could do them supported or not. And you can just, I mean, I'm a squatting fiend. So I'd like to say that my quads are amazing.
You sound just like my business partner. She is literally squatting at the airport. She's a
Yeah,
personal trainer and she tells people just what you said. If you're
just what?
waiting for a doctor's appointment, why aren't you squatting?
Absolutely. Absolutely. There was a new bit of research that came out recently that showed for every 45 minutes you sit at a desk, you should get up and do 10 squats because it'll affect your blood sugar in the correct way. Otherwise, being sedentary is no good for the blood sugar, right? Blood sugar is
Yeah.
not good. Metabolic function is not good. Metabolic function is not good. Everything else falls apart.
Yeah. There
So,
was another study that showed, I think they did it for office workers that are sitting at 8 hours a day at a desk or in a chair. And they showed that if, as long as they took a break every 4 hours, by the way, this is just two breaks during their workday of about 60 seconds, I think it was. Some of them did squats, some of them would run up and down stairs or walk really fast, literally just 60 seconds. Those two breaks were just as effective as if they had only done one 30-minute workout that day
wow. So
in terms
that's
of the physiology.
I love stuff like this because it tells us ultimately that it does not need to be fancy. It doesn't need to be a gym membership, although gym memberships are great too, because you got to keep it interesting and that's where you do your lifting and all of that. It just needs to be done. And I know for me, as I've gotten older, it feels different to have the conversation about moving and stretching and flexibility. Um, I want to come back to balance. Remind me to come back to balance here, please. Um, I want to be strong for my lifespan, for my health span as well. I want to be strong as long as I'm here. I want to be able to get my own groceries. I want to be able to carry them in the house for myself, my laundry, all of that stuff. I would like to stay in my own home. Now, if I decide I want to move into one of these fancy retirement communities where they have like dance parties and a rolling bar cart, like, yes, please.
That
I'll
sounds
make that
amazing.
decision.
But you still need to be functioning to dance.
Yes. Yes, exactly. I'll make it because I want the social aspect of it, right? Which is another really important part of our health as we age. But I'm thinking of it really differently. Like it always felt like I had to, like, oh God, here's one of these things I have to do. Like that's sort of how I felt about it, which is what a lot of people feel about their nutrition and their exercise, etc. But this feels different because I'm in control of staying strong and how the next 40 years of my life are going to look, or 50 years, God willing, right? So to me, it's so empowering. This information is so empowering. Stay moving, take the supplements you need to take, get on the hormones to protect your brain, bones, your heart, get your protein intake, etc. Have your practitioners around you, have your team, consider your team. Don't wait for an injury to have your team. Make sure your spine stays flexible. Make sure you're keeping up with your somatic practitioners, your massage therapist, your physio, your chiro, whatever. And let's talk about balance. So balance is one of those things that changes over time as well. And I think the remyelination business is involved here, although we that's a tangent I won't go off on. Anyways, so
Next summit.
yes, exactly. Next time you ask me that question, I'll be happy to answer. Doing things that are novel to the brain is really, really helpful for keeping brain healthy. Okay. Brain likes things that are new. Excuse me. It likes things that are shiny. It likes colorful things. It likes things that are new. It also likes oxygen. Imagine. So if you don't have a breathing expert on this particular
Sachin
summit,
Patel shared.
perfect. Okay. One of my colleagues. I love it. Fantastic. So breathing is so critical and so easily missed. So if you want to practice balance, one of the things you can do is try, again, supported to start. So make sure you got a wall next to you or a chair you can hang on to. Stand on one foot, stand on the other foot. Here's what we do. We tend to hold our breath when we're standing on one foot. So make sure you're breathing. Stand on the other foot, and then you can let go of the support, etc. It just depends on where you are in your journey. That may feel really silly to somebody who's 41 and has done yoga classes for 30 years, right? 25 years. Try brushing your teeth with the opposite hand. Try buttoning up your shirt with the opposite hand. Put on your socks standing up.
Mm.
Okay. Things like that you think are just kind of silly. And here's what happens as we get older. We go, oh, that's hard to do. I'm not going to do it. Mm-mm. For brain, for neuroplasticity, that's the thing you want to do
Like
because
little
that's,
mini challenges.
yes, because the brain likes novelty. The brain
Yeah.
is learning new things and you're firing the pathways that are going to keep you balanced and upright, which is really so, so important.
I love that. It's like I do like the New York Times free puzzles. And probably I shouldn't do this on my phone at night with my blue light blockers, but whatever.
You're
And I
good.
like it because it challenges my brain in these little tiny puzzles. And what you just said is kind of like that version, but for balance and for your body, little mini challenges. And I love a challenge. So, and I love that this ties into how you were talking about you don't have to, you get to. You get to
Yes.
do these things. You get to empower yourself. So cool, Fiona. I love that suggestion.
That's a beautiful way to say it, actually. We get the luxury of going through menopause because not that long ago, women didn't live past 51,
Yeah.
right? 1901, that was the life expectancy was 51 years old. So nobody's at fault here. We're learning how to menopause.
I love that. Well, you've empowered us with a lot of ways to menopause better. So that should be a verb. This is
It should
great.
be t-shirts, never
Let's make it a
mind.
cool verb. It's like the cool crowd. Okay. We're going to change menopause to be the cool club. We are. All of us
I
are
like
doing
it.
that. Fiona, this has been so enlightening. We're going to have you on again to talk about so much more that we didn't cover. But do you want to share actually how people can find you?
Yes, all roads lead to my website, which is drlovely.com. That's drlovely.com. My podcast is called the Not Your Mother's Menopause Podcast. It is my great pleasure to deliver information on that platform. I'm also really enjoying TikTok right now. So if you want to see the real time stuff happening on the ground in the clinic, please go find me on TikTok, TikTok and Instagram at Dr. Fiona Lovely.
Amazing. Thank you so much. This was fun.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. The information and other content provided in this show, or in any linked materials, is not intended and should not be construed as medical advice, nor is the information a substitute for professional medical expertise or treatment. We are doctors, but we aren't your doctor. Seek your doctor's opinion. If you or any other person has a medical concern, you should consult with your healthcare provider or seek other professional medical treatment. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something that you have heard in this podcast or in any linked materials. If you think you may have a medical emergency, call your doctor or emergency services immediately. The opinions and views expressed on this page and in this show have no relation to those of any academic, hospital, health practice, or other institution. Thank you.